I am Sarah Doody, and you're here today for our UX job search Q&A. Really, the goal for today is to really paint the picture for all of you of where each of these people was in their career journey, whether it was a couple of months ago, a couple of years ago, what they were struggling with, what was working, not working, what happened when they joined uh, my program Career Strategy Lab and sought help with their job search, and then how that kind of has impacted their confidence in their portfolio, resume, etc., in their ability to, in some cases, get interviews, in their ability, in other cases, to get job offers. But we want to introduce Laura, and we really just want to get a sense of like what are you doing right now, but also where did you start in your job search in terms of what were you doing before you found Career Strategy Lab? How was your job search or your job going, etc.? And then tell us a little bit more about kind of where you are in your journey right now.
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. I'm Laura, and I'm gonna give you a quick overview of my journey because in my case, this is my second time at Career Strategy Lab. I joined initially Career Strategy Lab in 2023 to start my job search. Before that, like the reason why I want to mention this is because my second time has been way easier because I kind of kept that same mindset that I like all the insights, all the knowledge I gained here the first time. So this second time was way smoother than the first time. Before Career Strategy Lab for me was like again big imposter syndrome, especially because I have a very unconventional background. I was a physician before being a UX designer. Uh, Totally self-taught, boot camps, not like bachelors in fine arts or anything. And I was like always struggling, like I'm good enough, like that kind of like confidence thing that is very common in the industry. And it doesn't matter how long you have been here, I feel it never totally goes away. So it was like first changing that mindset. Second, like, yeah, I'm good enough. I know what I'm doing. I just need to refine my materials to follow what it's told to be done here. Like, there's a reason why the sprints are the way they are. And I just trust the process. Like, there's a framework. I did my research as everybody do. Like, does this work? Because there are a bunch of gurus out there, and you never know. But I did my due diligence. I did my research. I decided to trust it. I followed like exactly the way it should been followed. And honestly, my first search ended up like being hired. I think it was like 1.5 months after starting the program. One case study presentation, I got a contractor role at Cisco that initially should have been 3 months in a 3 month engagement, and it ended up to be 2.5 years. And then being at Cisco still because you need to start like testing the environment and kind of looking at the red flags, like what's going to happen in the company when there's reorganization happening. I decided to join again even before being laid off, and I kind of like started that pushing myself again to like, okay, this is looking for a job mode again. So when I was laid off or my contract was terminated, because in this case it was a contract, I 2 weeks later I landed another job, and now I'm gonna talk a little bit about like why that happened. Uh, and the reason that happened is because, as I said, like to other students in Career Strategy Lab, I always kept that mindset like I'm not comfortable where I am in the sense like I'm not looking for another position. I'm happy in my job, but I need to be constantly testing my materials because you never know what can happen in this environment. You need to test your portfolio, you need to test your case studies, you need to test your resume, you need to know if it's like good enough to being called for interviews. You need to keep in contact and reaching out people that making like meaningful connections in LinkedIn that you don't know if at some point that person is in a different role in a different company that you're interested in. Like again, like when you're in the search per se, everybody sees you as you're desperate. Like you're if you're reaching out to me, it's because you want a job, because you're looking for a job basically. But when you're not looking, it's like you can establish meaningful connections. You can give mentorship, or people give you mentorship back or whatever. And it's a meaningful connection that at the point when you really need it, it's there for you to, I call it activate it immediately. And then the result, it's awesome. It's like I just spent two weeks between like my contract ending, my new role that is starting on Monday, and it was very smooth process because of that.
Wait, so you started this Monday like 2 days ago, or you're
No,
starting?
I'll start this Monday. I asked for two
Uh,
weeks in the middle because yeah, I just wanted to take a little bit of time in between.
you deserve a vacation, and like your approach to this, your mindset, your strategy was so spot on. Like a couple of things I just want to recap because Laura told us so many awesome things. The first thing is really around when you got hired in 2003 for that contract. And one stigma I see out on LinkedIn and social media all the time is like contracts are bad. And some guy just posted on my LinkedIn yesterday or something like contracts just mean they're going to keep you and then fire you after that time frame. Not true.
Mhm.
So often we see people get a contract and it turn into a full-time job, or it stay a contract for a long time. Just as you said, yours was going to be maybe 2 months and it turned into 2 years.
Mhm.
So number one, don't discount contracts. And then I think the other really important thing, if I could emphasize just two for the sake of brevity, is always testing the waters, like you said, Laura, like testing the waters and maintaining relationships so that number one, you know your worth, you know if your resume can land you interviews, if your portfolio can land you interviews. And like you said, from 2003, I think you said you had one project in your portfolio and you landed that Cisco contract, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So listen to Laura because Laura is a textbook example of putting all this into practice. And so you're going to start on Monday. And the other thing I want to point out for everyone, like Laura works in a very specific niche of like networking and security and things like that. And so just bravo to you for making yourself visible in this job market, but especially when you were still full-time employed and just making sure that you were ready in case something happened.
Yeah, no, that's another part I forgot to mention is like the kind of specialization in this market. Sometimes people feel like if I do everything, I will have more exposure and I will have more options. In my experience, because again, I've tested that. I do my own research and I keep like things like, okay, I also want to know if my portfolio and my background works for a healthcare startup.
Mm.
It's interesting who even when I'm a doctor by degree, I'm a physician. I don't do well with healthcare companies. They reject me all the time. So I have all that data that is like kind of I gather over time, and then I finally say, okay, cybersecurity and networking and telecommunication is a very specific niche where employees want like that domain knowledge because it's very difficult to work there if you don't understand your users, you don't understand the workflows, you don't understand how the what is the environment of that niche. So I decided, okay, I'm transitioning to that only. I'm only looking there. I'm only looking at companies I'm interested in that specific niche. First, it makes my search way easier because I don't have to send 100 applications. My application, like to reply radio, it's extremely like it's very good. I don't I think it's like 5 to 3 or something like that. Every five I send, three people reply or ask me for an interview. And and second is like as I'm saying, it's less overwhelming. You're a specialist in the field. Sometimes people even not sometimes a bunch of people even contact you without you being applying. Like, and my current role is an example. Like Cubia, the VP of product of Cubia, the company I will start working in next Monday. The VP of product reached out to me because he said like, I want this specific role. I'm looking for people like you. Let's talk. And then it was a long process. It's not. It didn't make it easier in the sense like, yeah, 6 interviews, 2 on sites, and a bunch of things. But the first contact wasn't even an application. I never applied to that role. And it's a role like a higher role than what I previously had because I was a senior product designer and now I was hired as a principal product designer. So that's also something that was important for me because I was looking like kind of more seniority in my role. So
Yeah.
it worked out well.
You mentioned that through everything you were doing, the CEO of the company you were hired at reached out to you. How did they find you? Did they find you on LinkedIn?
It was LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's another thing that's really important to emphasize is like when you take the time to get specific about what you want to do and make sure that your LinkedIn reflects that, your LinkedIn can essentially turn into like a magnet, for lack of a better analogy, for, the right people who are looking for someone like you to find you and then in Laura's case, reach out to you, not even have you apply and start talking to you. So let's continue on our discussion kind of with like a general question. We talked a lot about kind of the transformation of some of your portfolio, some of the resumes, some of the results in job searches, etc. I'm curious. I know we kind of covered a bunch of topics there, but going back to the original question of like, how do you feel like you've kind of changed as a person, especially through the lens of you originally found and joined Career Strategy Lab back in 2003, and that's when you got hired at Cisco. And I think one thing I'm very interested in from your perspective is, was there anything that you did in Career Strategy Lab that you were able to apply to your actual job once you were hired at Cisco in 2023 and for the past 2 years?
Yeah, actually, it's not only like the confidence level that you gain in the program, it's like it's going from I know Career Strategy Lab, especially for people who are just joining fresh and they're going from like they're just doing the first sprints. It's like, okay, there's some doubt still, like I'm gonna make it or not. Like for me, it's like the second time was like, I know this is gonna work because I already did it. I know the process worked, and it's just like a matter of when, right? And then when I was in Cisco, as an example, like the presentation skills you gain here, like the way, like the storytelling, this is something that goes with you wherever you go. Like, okay, now I have to know how to present every single piece of something that you need to do inside your company. You use the same approach, the same strategy to do it. And even in the way you move inside your company, where you want to be, even for me as a contractor, I don't know if every company is the same, but I wasn't treated as a contractor. I was pretty much a full-time employee without benefits. But like my team treated me the same way as everybody else. I had leadership roles inside my company. I was mentoring junior people. And again, it was a confidence, it was a presentation skills that I gained here. And again, like, and also beyond my role at Cisco, it's like you create your own framework for you that works as well. Like now you have to put another case study together, you know the framework. Like there are certain things you need to refine, but it's very easy to jump to it because you have a way to do it. Before it was just like, okay, let me see what of these million things that are out there to create a presentation works. I don't know. Now I know what it works because
Mm.
again, like I tested multiple times. I don't have that mindset again. Like I need a website portfolio. I know my PDF portfolio perfectly fine. I've never maintained or keep like a website whatsoever. I just use my PDFs and it worked perfectly for me. So yeah, that mindset shift is very huge.
That's awesome to hear. And I think too, you know, the portfolio approach and framework that we teach, it could really just apply to any presentation. At the end of the day, a portfolio is a presentation. You're trying to communicate certain talking points. You're trying to make sure people receive and remember the message in this case of your work experience. But whether you're creating a research presentation, a pitch for a new idea for your team or company, or a pitch to a potential freelance client or something, like at the end of the day, they're all presentations, and creating a presentation follows a pretty similar framework when you get beyond, the message and think about the strategy of that. So I'm thrilled to hear that you're able to use some of that in your day-to-day job. I have one final question, but before I do, I just want to check in and see if Laura had any thoughts on portfolios. Do you have anything or no pressure?
Actually, I wanted to share something else about your portfolio, and it's usually like we have this definition of when it's ready, when it's done to be out there. And I know, Sarah, you said a lot, like start applying before that you feel your portfolio is perfect.
Mm.
And honestly, like every time I needed like to apply for a job, my portfolio hasn't been in the place where I want it to be. And I still apply again, like one case study, maybe two, and the result, the outcome has been good. So don't wait until your portfolio it's perfect, or when you feel like, because it's never going to be like, we are perfectionists. The perfectionism is always there, and we feel like this is not good enough. But again, like it's an iterative process too, so that helps a lot.
I believe it was today. I just posted on social media essentially saying if you wait to perfect your portfolio, you are not going to know if you might be able to get interviews with the version you have right now. Because as you've heard today, you don't need three, four, five, seven projects. Laura had one. It doesn't need to be perfect, etc. So, okay, my final question is really for what advice would you have for anyone who's kind of on the fence about jumping into something like Career Strategy Lab? And or like what would you tell them when they join? If you had a tip for them, you can answer one or both of those questions.
There should be some commitment to, like, I'm gonna follow this and I'm gonna trust the process. Because if we don't do that, if we go to like, okay, I'm gonna go straight to my portfolio without doing the company statement, without knowing what you're gonna do, what kind of career goals you have, what is your next like big thing, you're gonna get stuck in the middle anyway. So it's like there's a process for a reason, and it's because it works in the way that it was designed. So yeah, it's like just dedicate the time to do it in the order that you have to do it, and trust the process. And that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, like, just so transparently and openly about your very personal experiences and your struggles and, how you really leveraged the process, so to speak, to get to where you are today. Okay, guys, well, let's wrap it up then. Hopefully, it just gave you some hope in the job market, etc. Because I think, you know, in general, negative stories get more likes, etc., right? And I think it like pushes down all the positive stories that are happening in the UX and product world. And so that's part of the reason why we do these sessions, to help you connect in a small environment like this with other people who are having success, so you can hear what they're doing to have that success. So that is all. See you later.